thinking about, if you know Lady Astor and her hatred of Winston Churchill. And I remember once that reading Lady Astor said to Winston Churchill, "Sir, if you were my husband, I would give you poison." And Winston Churchill replied, "Lady, if you were my wife, I would take it." I was thinking coming in, until I saw Joe St. John, I would be the only man here. So, and the topic of women in politics, and so it's like, well, you know, men telling women what to do, how to do it. And I get my advice from my lovely wife, Linda. Thank you very much, Marita, for the invitation, you and Lois. Also, someone I want to recognize, and I had the opportunity to meet her husband a number of years ago when a fellow named Joe St. John called me and said, "Hey, we have this guy over in Indian Land, and he'd like to run for a house seat who needs some help." So, of course, Linda and I, we love Joe. We packed up, we came over, and we did lip drops in somewhere in Lancaster. I don't remember whether it was. And his name was Mick Mulvaney. And I said, "Joe, do you think he can win? He's just so nonchalant about things." And that's what I love, Pam, about Mick. As I see him today, he's doing a great job in Congress. But what has happened? It has not changed who Mick is. And so often we see, rather than those we elect to go to be at the State House or to Washington to change that environment, they end up being changed by it. And he is not. So thank you. And I know a lot of that is with Miss Isabel, who's helping you, Pam, keep him grounded. So thank you. And also, Elizabeth, thank you for coming. And I knew that pretty smile. I said, there's some connection here. I'm from, before I moved here, Dallas, Texas. Matter of fact, my kid, my son, Glenn Jr., graduated graduate school, University of Dallas in Irving, Texas, Los Colinas area. And my daughter, Alexis, she's still trying to figure out what she wants to be at age 24. And it's like, sweetheart, daddy is retired. And Janice, no Bank of America stock isn't doing well. And Linda told me just yesterday, and I was telling them driving here, the heat is on. You need to get a job. So it is just wonderful to see the organization and what you guys are doing here. And for the Republican Party, we know where our strength lies, and it's in the women organization, the Federation of Republican Women. For example, with every election cycle, we can always count on the Republican women to come out to help gain phone banks and do all the heavy lifting that we need. So I thank you. And I also thank you for the opportunity to serve our great state at the national level, being your representative. And at first, I was a little timid about it and going, but now being there a few years, we have to stand up for our values. I did not realize out of 166 on the Republican National Committee, we're losing part, or at least we would like, there's some that think our platform is too stringent and want to water it down, and I know why. You have sent me there, why my Lord and Savior has allowed me to be there, is to stand up for those foundational issues, our principles. And I think one of the candidates on the stage said last night, I think it was about compromising. And I heard Mick say at several of his town halls, he don't mind compromising, but he's not going to compromise on the principle. And I think that's where we need to be. Also, I want to thank your dad, Elizabeth. I thought he did a great job, and really all of them, any of them, would be much better than who we have today in the White House. So, as a matter of fact, he was a topic of conversation coming along with a few others. Janet said, I was so impressed. He really raised his game. So, and I was thinking, boy, would it not be nice if Obama would just agree to debate each of them? That would be worth paying for. You know, we're paying for view because they're all so knowledgeable, and I would agree, it has a lot to say a few words about women in politics. And, I know that in general, when a man steps up to talk about, as we talked earlier, the role of women, then it can be very delicate. So if you would just bear with me just a little bit, I think there are several areas that we really should look at. I think it's a great opportunity for women. And I received a call yesterday. I was telling Diane on the way from a young lady who's interested in York County. We're getting a new House seat, like you had growth on the northern side of the county in Lancaster. We had growth over in the Fort Mill, TPK area, and called me and said she's interested in running for that new House seat. So I'm excited about that. I think doors are open. I don't know if some of you saw or received yesterday, I got an email from the Southern Institute of Women in Politics, and they talked about South Carolina and where we're rated. Any idea where we're rated with the number of women in our legislature? Diane? We're number 50. That's not bad. There's nowhere to go but up, right? So I think the opportunity is there and I think we will see more women. We're at right now about 9.4%, I think the fact sheet said from the institution. So I think we have a great opportunity. But I think it's not about what, I think it's about who. And I think there are just several things I'd like to share if a candidate has, and it doesn't matter if they possess some qualities. This is what we want to see, and this is what our voters want to see. It doesn't matter if they're women or men. So, number one, some say that it's better to have no or only a small number of women in politics. And we talked about the number we have here. We're going to grow that. Also, I think we can't use, and what I remember in the Senate race that Greg Gregory ran for his seat, and we had a woman in that race, and she kept saying, and I don't say this in the debate, it kind of turns people off. There are no women in Columbia. Well, that's a true statement, but she never really articulated what would she do. Why does she want to go other than there's no women in Columbia? So I think it's women and even minorities, men, myself, National Committeeman. When I ran, there were no people of color on that committee. But I think it's wrong for me to go out and run on there's no people of color. Why do I want that job? And I think that's what we have to do. That's one of the things we're going to be meeting with this candidate in Rock Hill. She told me part of the reason she'd like to run, there are no women. Well, that's great, but keep that to yourself and build a platform out. Why are you running for this office? Because I don't believe in quota systems, and we shouldn't have quota systems. It should be based on what we believe. And I found that interesting. Last Tuesday, I was at the York County Council meeting, and part of the reason I was there, they were going to be discussing the new redistricting plan. And it was had public hearing. So of course I get up and talk about why I think it's the right thing to do. Happy with the plan, personally as a resident of York County, but also as chairman of the York County Republican Party, we're happy with the plan. So it should go on to the Justice Department. Knowing that the NAACP was there to, of course, to protest the plan. And one of their reasoning for that was there were 3% growth in the minority community over the last 10 years. So as a result of that, they need a minority-majority district for only 3% growth. And the gentleman that was speaking, he saw that wasn't going anywhere. So he jumped to his next reasoning. There are no women on the county council. So as a result, we think there should be a